All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. How are we tonight? I am so excited for tonight. If you guys are here, I am again live in my Facebook group. If you guys haven't been in my Facebook group, definitely get over there. It's very supportive, highly engaged community of women who are spiritual and just raise your vibration. So if you haven't been over in the Facebook group, definitely get over there. And if you're in the Facebook group and haven't been on YouTube, definitely check those out because I got my monthly readings up there too. If you are here, say hi in the comments, please. If you are in my Facebook group, please use your name. Whoever just said hello, please let me know who you are. Use your name because I cannot see them in StreamYard. Also, what was I just going to say? Yeah, if you're here, say hi. If you're catching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. Let me know that you are seeing this video. I am so excited to have our guest, Cynthia, with us tonight. She has a very inspiring story where she has been with a toxic ex for 23 years, back and forth, on and off, and she has finally gotten the courage and knows her worth now in order to let him go completely. So, hey, Mandy, hey, Claudia, hey, Maria. Awesome, ladies. I am so glad you are here, and let's give Cynthia our love and our support. Give her some hearts on Facebook. Give her some thumbs up on YouTube, all right? So, Cynthia, thank you for being here with me tonight, and we're all excited to hear your story. So can you tell me a little bit about where you were and what you've been through before we started working together?
Well, I had a very traumatic childhood, and I've been through a few relationships that didn't work, always kind of the same type of people, people I needed to fix, I guess. And I had been with my husband, we 20 years when we split up, married. I've known him my whole life, but it was one of those, if he set a boundary, he cut. I didn't understand really what happened. I didn't know why we couldn't fix it. I didn't know a lot of things. And I went to counseling a couple of times in my life, but I felt like you get to a certain point where it's just the same thing over and over again. I didn't feel like I was healing. I didn't feel like I was moving on. But when my marriage split up, it completely broke me. Completely, totally broke me. And that's the first time in my life I felt like I completely broke. I'm a strong person. I'm a businesswoman. I have raised some great daughters. I didn't know how to let go. I held on really tight. I went back and forth. I did the same dance until I just got so, and like everybody does at the end, I started to kind of search around for something. So, I was listening to tarot. That's how I saw Dee. And then I saw that she did some other things, and I started looking into it. And the big step for me was it's an investment in yourself. And I never would have spent that money on myself. I would on other people, but I never would have been myself. But I just got to a point. I remember our conversation. I remember crying, and I remember saying, like, I just don't know where to go. And I just got to such a point where I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to do this cycle anymore. I don't want to ever be broken like that again. And that's how I started with you. It was a very emotional call, but it was the beginning of something amazing for me.
Awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit. So first of all, you said like you're a strong, independent woman, and do you resonate with being codependent?
Now that I actually know, that's one of the things. I think so many people think they know what narcissists are, and so many people think they know what codependent are. And I didn't really ever consider myself codependent because I am the breadwinner. I am a business owner. I am, a decision maker. I own my own home. I did that myself. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't really understand. I remember the very beginning of starting this program, you saying that awareness is key. And I joked with you last week because I said, I'm a woman, I'm a journalist, and I'm a Gemini. So I started learning everything. I started with you. I've learned everything. And what I thought narcissism and codependence was isn't really what it is. So for me, becoming aware and learning so that I could understand what happened and why, and basically that we were doomed from the beginning anyways, and that this is my pattern my whole entire life. So the awareness was the first step for me. I mean, I had so many moments where I went, oh, that's why I do that. Or, oh, that, I joked again with you last week and said, you think you're special, but I'm basically right out of a book. I should have my codependent Cindy, right? So the awareness and the understanding of it goes so deep, like right back to the beginning. The program for me just opened my eyes to so many things. And I think for me, it started to make me shift from, oh my God, my marriage is over. What I'm going to, because I'm not young like a lot of you girls. I'm 56 years old. This was 18 months ago we split up. So I was 55. And I remember it like he pulled my whole world apart. And slowly I've understand, no, he didn't. It's my business. It's my house. I built this. I have healthy relationships with both sets of kids, his and mine. And just the understanding of what happened and what codependency and narcissism and toxic relationships are. You think they're your soulmate, you can't let go, and he's not a soulmate, he's a karmic. I learned about that too, but it's been an amazing, and once I started to understand, I was just all in. And I know I've taken a little longer than maybe some people, but I went back and redid some of that stuff. And healing your inner child and dealing with what happened and learning to let go has been huge for me. Huge.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So yeah, so codependency, I think a lot of women don't resonate with the word codependent because we're determined and we're ambitious and we've got the money and we're the breadwinners. Like I was the breadwinner of our relationship. So it's hard for like independent, ambitious women to say that they're codependent because they don't depend on anybody else. And for me, I always say like codependency is about seeking that love that you didn't get as a child outside of yourself. So therefore, you're running into all these toxic relationships because we're going to take just a little bit of anything to make you feel a little bit better because you don't have that from within yourself. So tell me a little bit, Cynthia, do you feel like you are now having that love inside of yourself and you don't need to search for it outside?
I'm really starting to understand my worth. I think at the end of the relationship, and I'm going to go into details, he did some really, really, really crappy stuff. And not just to me. He's out of his kids' lives, my kids' lives, our friends. He did some really crappy stuff that I didn't deserve. But here's the thing. When you start to really understand what narcissism and codependency is, I spent 23 years with this man trying to make him happy. I worked like a dog, and it was never enough because then, at the end it was, well, you didn't have time for me. Well, someone had to pay the bills, right? So, I mean, the arguments and the circles that we would go in, some of the conversations I had with him, I didn't know the words gaslighting, love bombing, hoovering. I didn't know what any of that was. And as I'm learning about this, I'm going, oh my God. And it started, a friend of mine sent me a link about the 10 red flags of narcissism. And I went through that, and it wasn't even like I was going, well, maybe he does that once, Father. No, he doesn't do that. It was like check, 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 which then eventually led me to you. But I was just kind of blown away of the stuff I didn't know, because I am an intelligent person, but I spent 23 years. But here's what changed for me. As I did this program, like I said, the shift went from, oh my God, what happened? What am I going to do? The shift went from him and what happened to me. And once I started to concentrate on me, because as a codependent woman, we take care of everybody in the world but ourselves. And I remember our first conversation. I believe I said to you, I'm just so tired. I'm tired of it. I never knew how exhausting that relationship was until I was out of it, and I'm sleeping better. I'm still a little tired, but I'm like in that way, I've lost weight. And not even trying. I mean, I'm just feeling better. My friends, like I've spent a lot of time alone, so there's big 2 week, 3 week gaps where they don't really see me. And in this last 2 weeks, especially after I did a week 6, my friends are like, "Oh my God, you look fantastic!" Like the difference. I joked with you and said I should have gave her a before and after picture because I didn't know what it was doing to me physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm sure at some point I probably would have had a stroke or collapsed of exhaustion at some point. So that shift is the big thing for me. It makes you look at you. It has nothing to do with the other person. So it's the parts of me that I can work on, and my self-worth as I was going through it. The journaling's fantastic. You read it a couple days later and go, holy, right? So the shift is amazing, uncomfortable because we're not used to looking at ourselves. But there's many things about myself. Like I made up my mind that I was going to put my whole heart and soul into this because I just need a better life. I need to feel better. I let him take away my self-esteem, my self-respect, or maybe I never had those things, right? Because this is the kind of relationships I go through. I ask for so little. And when I do put down a boundary, my husband would just run.
Yeah.
So, and then I would go get him back because I missed him and thought, oh, he missed me and he'd be happy to have me back. And it'd be great for, 3 to 6 months. And then we're in our same cycle over and over and over. And there were no in betweens. It was either really, really, really good or really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
So it just shifted from that to me.
Yes.
For the first time in my life.
I love that. I love that. And that's what this program is about. And everyone who's confused, maybe Cynthia is talking about the From Pain to Power program. And that's exactly why I created the program, is to take your power back. And we don't focus on the past relationships. We are aware of them and we understand what is triggering and why we're attracted to them and why we stayed so long. But it really goes back, and you actually said this, triggered something in my brain, where you said to your father that you were in a program healing from childhood trauma. And it was just like, wow, that is what we do in this program. Like we literally go back to childhood. And because that's usually where the root is. Yeah. So what would you say? Go ahead. I think you're going to answer this, but like, would you say that your childhood is where all of your issues were stemming from?
Absolutely. This program also helped me understand what my root trauma wound is. And it's absolutely abandonment. I went through physical and sexual and mental abuse, emotional abuse with a stepfather. I think my mom did the best she could. I was able to forgive her later because I've learned they're a product of their childhood. But for me, I never ever once in my life thought it was abandonment. And that's absolutely what it is, because nobody saved us. Nobody did anything. And, some people knew. But when I told my dad I was in this program, he also stopped talking to me for quite some time because it probably made him very uncomfortable. But, that goes back to his childhood. But I have always known and believed that what happens to you, you say 7 years, the first 7 years, I'm going to say the first 10, because mine progressed. I believe that really does put you down the path until you become aware and learn things. Like for me, the awareness led to an understanding, and I think understanding started to lead me to letting go. And one thing I love about the mentorship program, I could never get to the point of full forgiveness for certain people. And when you talked about people keep telling you, you got to forgive, you got to forgive, you got to do it for you, you got to, and some things are unforgivable, but I can let it go. I can let go a lot. Like, I don't know, I'm just going to say a lot of, but man, I feel like I got the weight of the world off of me. And I never, people kept saying to me, like, why aren't you getting angry with him? You need to hit the anger stage. And I kept saying, you know what? I have been angry for 50 years. I don't
Mm.
want to be that anymore. That's not how I wanted to heal. And I know there's steps to grieving, and you are grieving. I'm grieving, you know, a 23-year relationship, but I really have let it go. And the triggers, learning about triggers, and well, why did that text bother me so much? Or why does that look like what, you know? And I understand now, and I can kind of deal with it in a different way.
Yeah.
I feel amazing. I feel like anyone who doesn't know why they keep doing it over and over again, because I did. Get in this mentorship program. It's amazing. It's amazing. It saved my life. And
Awesome.
I don't mean like save my life like I would kill myself or anything. That's not what I mean. I mean my quality of life. And I'm for the first time in a really long time, because let's face it, it's not just 18 months since we split up. That's been terrible. It's been terrible for a long time. But I have hope. I have new goals. I have accomplished some things, partly because, you know, my business slowed down because of COVID. But I mean, I've set some goals and I've accomplished some of those, and we'll see where it goes in the future, because I am not the same person I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago.
Awesome. And, you know, we joked around last week because you were like, Dee, is there something wrong with me? Like, I want to stay home and like do nothing, you know? And it was because you've been so busy and you've been so like filling your time, right? Because usually a lot of the time we are uncomfortable staying home by ourselves and like doing nothing or just doing like little things around the house. It's like we feel like we've got to be doing something because that's again validating us in certain ways. And now it's like, I was like, no, Cynthia, you're fine because like you don't need those things
Yeah.
to validate you anymore. And now you're taking, you said you were redoing your whole house here and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I think on that point, I feel like part of the reason that I was always busy is because I never had to sit and think and look at things. I just stayed busy. I was always busy, whether it was working. I was on coaching my kids at 18 years at baseball. I was playing baseball. I was on committees. Like I have always been a busy person. And I understand now being a workaholic's no different than dealing with it with alcohol or drugs or whatever your addiction is. And that's what I did. And I tamped it down and tamped it down until it all blew up in my face. And even then I went back and forth and back, oh, my marriage. And, you know, I just believe letting go and putting your whole heart and soul into the healing process, because if you're not ready to go deep, I have sat and watched Dee's program and cried. I thought there were no more tears because after my marriage split up, I cried every day for months. But I let so much go, and so much of it resonated so deep inside of me. Like I admire what you do, and it's somehow down the road probably where I'm going, because if I can help anyone not feel the way I have felt for a long time, I will put my heart and soul into it. But you got to do the work. You can't pick and choose and flinch away from the hard parts, because it's hard. It's painful. Growing and healing is painful stuff, but it is worth it. And I am hopeful for the first time in a long time. I'm hopeful.
awesome. So Cynthia, can you tell us a little bit about your experience actually in the program, like going through the videos, going through the journals and going through like the calls and stuff? Was it overwhelming at all? Was it a little scary before you signed up?
I think it was really scary because I knew right from the first day, Dee tells you like she's going to use tough love. She's going to call you on your shit. I remember saying something like, oh, he texted me, he missed me, and Dee was jumped right on that and goes, no, he's a narcissist, he doesn't miss you. But that's a really, on that point, that's a really hard thing to accept too. That's a really hard thing to accept when you're with a full-on narcissist. that maybe none of it was really real, that you know, like there's hard things to accept, but going through the program, if you go in order, and I did skip a couple things and go back, there were things you write out that you don't even realize you're writing, and then you go back and read it and go, oh, I see my thought process, or I see why that part is so hard for me. But, and the other thing I want to say about this program is I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. And that's opening a whole new side of me. I didn't think Reiki was like, I knew what it was. My friend does it, but back in the day, whatever. But oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. That's usually when I cry, through the Reiki healing. But the process is, it's in an order that makes sense. The journaling is, I've always kept a journal, and I kind of compared it to other times that were similar in my life, and it's different this time because it makes you go deep, and you got to be honest with yourself, and sometimes that's really painful too. Like, I understand my part in it, but I also have learned to not be so hard on myself about that, because I didn't know any different. I didn't know.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So, I mean, I think you've said it all. Guys, everyone's resonating with you, and they're thanking you for sharing your story. They love Reiki as well. So
I do.
I love that you say, like, you know, this is probably my path too, which is why I have all these different courses, because you know, that was my journey. It's like, when I found all this out, when I went through all this healing, I'm like, how can other women not know this? And I feel like we as women go through so many toxic relationships, and usually it stems from childhood. So, you know, this program is about healing after toxic relationships. But for me, most of the women in the program have had a toxic childhood, which then leads into these toxic relationships. So if you are in a toxic relationship or have patterns of being in toxic relationships, it's most likely coming from your childhood. And that's what we dive into this program. So we definitely go back, and I always say on our phone call, you get in with the phone call. So you got to jump on a call with me just to see if you're a good fit for the program. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the comments here if you do want to see if you are a good fit for this program. Let me get the link. I had it for a minute, but now I lost it. So give me a second. But definitely, it's an 8-week program. And Cynthia, you're on week 6, right?
7. I'm almost done 7. I'll be done it tomorrow. I got one more week.
Awesome. So it doesn't have to take years of therapy in order to feel better and start seeing yourself different and changing your life. I mean, Cynthia said that her friends are noticing, and that's huge, 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 huge. Hold on, let me write this. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. You should see it in the Facebook group, on the page, and in YouTube. YouTube, if you're watching this video afterwards, you just want to make sure you check in the description box and the comments. And for Facebook, I'll put it up in the description above. But you want to make sure you can go ahead and click the link and see if you're a good fit for the program. But definitely, it doesn't take years of therapy. And you said, Cynthia, that you had been through counseling. I went through 2 years of therapy and still wasn't feeling any different. I was still attached to men. I was still in this relationship that I wasn't happy in. It really didn't get me to the place that I wanted to be. And it's about dealing with your childhood, but also with the Reiki energy healing, because this is what you were saying before, is like, we connect the energy with the mind. So we have to know we're good enough, but our energy has to feel that way too. And that's why we keep attracting the same people, because your energy is not where it needs to be in order to attract the right people into your life. So if you are in a situation where you're attracting narcissists, and, you know, labels aside, like just relationships that you don't feel good in. And it can be romantic, it can be friendships, it could be coworkers, it could be any type of relationship in your life. But if you're attracting those people to you when they're walking all over you, you feel like you're walking on eggshells not to make them mad. This is where you really have to go back to the childhood and see where all these things are coming from. So you can check that out in the comments. Woke Up Sassy says, thank you for sharing. We've been there. There's so much strength in these communities, healing, compassion, and answers to the questions for all the things that never made any sense. Yes, yeah, and I love that. And you said that too, Cynthia. It's about understanding yourself more. It is completely about understanding where you were, where you came from, and why you act the way you do, why you feel the way you do, the emotions and everything that come up for you. And when you have that understanding, which is also like the awareness that I talk about, it changes everything. Do you agree with that?
Yes. But the biggest thing for me too is that inner child healing, because people don't understand that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You weren't given barriers and boundaries and self-respect, and you're shown your worth as a child. So how are you supposed to grow up and have those things in your life? Like, boundaries were huge for me. There were no boundaries in my childhood. There was no one stopping from doing whatever they wanted. And I really feel to all you women listening out there, like, that's the part of you that led you on everything else. And I didn't know that. And knowing that and being able to not be so hard on myself of why I can't, because we are women, we are conditioned that you get up and you go to work and you do what you got to do no matter what. And you should never be broken. You have to be strong for everyone else. It all comes from those limited beliefs as a child of what you were taught to believe about yourself. And it's changeable.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Awesome. So that is my mission, is for women to not feel stuck in these relationships, to know that they are better and know that they deserve more, and to really increase your self-worth and build your confidence up. And let's take the world over, guys. Like, seriously, I think it's about time us women really kind of take this world over.
Time.
It is, right? It's time.
Agreed. We gave them that a chance.
Yeah. They had their turn. It's our turn now. And if you guys are watching, sorry, love you too. But it's women's turn.
Absolutely.
We've been held down way too long. Yeah, so Woke Up Sassy, whoa, where'd you go? Says, for me, at least once I understood and found out narcissism is absolutely a thing, with all the disgusting, humiliating, and ridiculous that goes along with it. And no, they don't give a damn about us. Yeah, and that's hard. It's really hard to accept, like you had said, where, and I've worked with women who are bawling their eyes out going, like, does he love me? And it's hard for me to give that tough love, but my spirit team is on the tough love side. But it's hard to, and I had to do this as well. So I get it. Like, I had to accept that the way I thought he loved me was not the way he loved me. And the person who I thought he was not the person who he actually is. So that really comes with acceptance in the beginning. And then, like you said, it starts with taking back to you. Let's forget about them. Let's figure out what they're triggering inside of us, and then take that power back that way. So Cynthia, I want to thank you so much for joining us, especially tonight, and really sharing your story.
I want to thank you so much. You changed my life. You helped to change my life.
Oh, well, it was a pleasure. I love having you in the program, and I love talking to you every single week and seeing what's going on and how you're shifting and your stories and stuff. And what I love about the program is, like, the first 3 weeks, like I always say, are pretty rough. But after that, it's like everyone should, they are. Everyone, after the third week, everyone starts to show up with more positivity and more hopefulness. And like, it's just, I love this program. So I can't say more about it, but I mean, I can, but I won't. But anyway, so thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your story. In a lot of the November tarot readings on YouTube, we talked about sharing the story. That card came up a lot, I think in like 3 or 4 different readings. I think maybe even in the full moon one. But like, Gemini, yeah. So sharing our story is so important, because you have inspired other women here to maybe leave that relationship that has been dragging them down for so long. So we really, truly appreciate you guys. Give Cynthia some love in your comments, give some likes and hearts on Facebook. And thank you so much. And for all of you women out there, and men, but mostly women, I want to say, you can do it too. You can change yourselves. You can check out that link to see if you're a good fit for the program. Awesome. We're going to rally behind you guys. So, all right, everyone, go have a wonderful